New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everyone. Friday, July 31st. Wow, it's the end of July already. Ooh. I'm Barbara Jean, your host, and now the good news. So let's start off with something that's actually really good news. Africa's wildfire season is actually getting shorter. Yes, a changing climate seems to be shortening Africa's dry season, resulting in less land scorched during the wildfire season, according to new science. For all the column inches devoted to the record wildfire seasons in France, Spain, or the Amazon, it is still and always has been Africa that's the center of world wildfires. 70% of all wildfires around the globe in Africa during the two seasons in the north and the south, amounting to half of all global CO2 emissions resulting from wildfires. One continent, half the smoke. Yet a new analysis from researchers at the Chinese Academy of Sciences shows that rains have tended towards later and later dates of cessation, delaying the onset of the dry season when parched grasses need only a single spark to ignite and burn for days. So that is really good news for all of us. Yes. Oh, and here's another good thing. So climate-friendly heat pumps are becoming dominant in America. The rapid adoption of heat pumps in the United States is becoming little short of a revolution, such that these clever HVAC devices in a few years will effectively replace previous systems. Indeed, all new homes built last year, 46% were completed with heat pumps, just 1% below other more recognizable systems like water boilers, gas furnaces, and air conditioners. Heat pumps use the process of changing a liquid to a gas and back again to cool and heat air that's pumped into the house or building that they service. They generate substantially fewer greenhouse gas emissions than a gas furnace or burning heating oil, and because they rely on electricity, can take advantage of renewable energy. Previous generations relied on the kind of refrigerants that were 2,000 times more capable of creating a greenhouse effect than CO2, but modern EPA regulations are seeing that previous fluid exchanged for ones with lower global warming potential or even propane. In the first quarter of this year, there were 32% more heat pump sales in the U.S. than older home heating systems, according to a new report. And on that note, let's have one more story before we go to a break. This woman's viral video raises more than $174,000. Yes. So a woman was able to help a partially disabled airport worker retire after she witnessed him hobbling across the tarmac on a flight out of Los Angeles. Heartbroken watching him limp up to the plane she was sitting on, she captured a video of the man for her TikTok account and posted it with a caption asking if anyone knew who he was. The footage went viral, and soon a fundraiser did too. James Blair is a Navy veteran working in the military between 1980 and 1990 before re-entering civilian life as a fuel mechanic. Since 2006, he's worked at John Wayne Airport, despite hardly being able to walk from a pair of deteriorated knees. Having recently turned 64 and therefore not far from Social Security and presumably a military pension, he cannot retire as his income helps support his elderly mother's hospice care. Knowing none of this, Thackeray proceeded to watch as comments piled up asking her how someone might be able to help the poor man until finally a commenter identified him as Blair, at which point she was able to get in touch with him. Having neither a smartphone or social media accounts, he got through to him through his boss at the John Wayne Airport. The boss volunteered to drive some 90 minutes to Blair's house and help him set up a GoFundMe that Thackeray would be able to share to the millions of viewers of the video on TikTok. At publishing time, it channeled $180,000 from over 6,000 donations to a sole beneficiary fund set up for Blair's benefit. I was speechless because I felt like the world showed up, Thackeray told KSL News. And I think in these times, we need people just like that. Blair says he wouldn't have ever believed such a thing were possible, and that the unexpected blessing from a distant seated stranger has done nothing less than restore his faith in the divine. And on that note, let's take a short little commercial break, and we will be right back with more good news. Don't go away.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
And we're back with more good news. So once upon a time, a little town called Atlanta, there was a dad who decided on a lark to take his 4-month-old baby girl to the library. He didn't know it at the time, but the Georgia native had planted the magic bean that would grow into a giant beanstalk of brotherhood and paternity known simply as the Library Dads. Kari Arnold founded the group after his weekly outings with his daughter Aria became a keystone in his relationship with her. Not only did it become their special time together, but Aria showed signs of developing those early literacy skills so vital to success and satisfaction in all walks of life. Arnold thought other dads might want to find camaraderie in the activity and began inviting fathers in the community with children of any ages to participate. Now, when the dads descend on a local library, Arnold's mission and message is clear for all to see. Dads show up. Bonding through books and building brotherhood, the alliterative message is simple, powerful, and a cherished chapter in dozens of Atlanta's dads' day planners. It was eye-opening to see other dads like myself who are engaged, and it was motivating as well, said Cassell Scott, father to a 3-year-old named Amelie, who was also heard from Mr. Derek Lampkin. Lampkin is bringing his sons, Dominique and Tristan, to Library Dads events for the past year and has started bringing his 7-month-old daughter, Madeline Sophia, as well. We continue coming because it shows my boys their dads show up. They're there, and it's a good community. The library dads events are free, but often fill up quickly. All right, moving right along. I love that story. Well, this senior decided to take up swimming after retiring. And guess what? She saves a man from drowning. From China's Anhui province comes a story that reminds us it's never too late to learn. 71-year-old Li Difang remembers chatting with her friends while out one day near a bridge in her hometown in Sussex County. She suddenly heard someone shout that a man had fallen into the water. Social media footage showed that he hadn't fallen from the bridge, but jumped off in an apparent suicide attempt. That wasn't for Miss Lou to know, however, and without wasting time, the white haired fitness enthusiast, who'd only learned how to swim a few years earlier after retiring from her job, entered the water to try and save what she thought was a drowning man. Someone quickly found a rigid life preserver and threw it to Lou, who used it to reach the man whom she tried to support, but to her surprise, the man resisted. Despite being more than twice the man's age, Lou got control of him and dragged him to the shore where officials were there to lend a hand. Lou admitted she was exhausted from the ordeal. Realizing the man and the rescue had created quite a stir, Lou slipped away. It was not a big deal for me. I did not tell my family for fear they would worry about me. Yet local police wanted to know who the Good Samaritan was, and so released the local traffic camera and other surveillance footage of the ordeal on social media, hoping someone would recognize the rescuer. The video went viral on Chinese social platforms, with hundreds commending her in the comment sections. Sure enough, a relation did recognize her in the video, the very person Lou had most hoped to avoid alerting of her heroics. Her brother. My brother scolded me severely. He said, "You're over 70 years old. How dare you jump into the river to save others? Why didn't you think of the consequences?" Well, the yoga adept shrugged her brother's rebuke off, but did wish she could have said something to the man she saved, that difficulties, whatever they are, always pass in time, and that life is a precious gift that should not be forfeited so easily. How sweet is that? That is a good message. Well, when I saw a picture of this truck, I was absolutely shocked. So Casey Pettis walked away unharmed after lightning struck his truck and reduced it to a pile of ashes on a Utah highway. But it was what happened later that day, when his 9-year-old son quietly offered up his entire savings, that turned a frightening experience into a story about love, generosity, and family. Pettis, a contractor from St. George, Utah, was driving to Cedar City on Wednesday when he noticed a slow leak in one of his rear tires. He planned to make it to a nearby tire shop despite worsening weather along the Interstate 15. He was on the phone with his brother, who urged him to pull over so he could come help. I was like, no, I can make it to the tire store. Then, just as we're talking, boom, I just get rocked. For a few moments, he struggled to process what had happened. It took me a few seconds to realize, holy crap, I just got struck by lightning. Within seconds, his truck lost all electrical power. Without power steering, Pettis fought to guide the vehicle safely onto the shoulder as heavy rain poured down around him. Smoke soon began rising from the dashboard and passenger side. After grabbing only his phone, wallet, and keys, he got out of the truck, leaving behind thousands of dollars worth of work tools. Just minutes later, the truck was completely engulfed in flames. Although the dramatic fire surprised many people who later saw the video of the incident, Pettis said the truck itself protected him from the lightning strike. I did not get shocked. I did not get hurt. I did not get harmed. While Pettis escaped without injury, the tools he relied on for his contracting business were destroyed. They're all gone, he said. But when he returned home, the toughest part of his day was replaced by one of its most unforgettable moments. As Pettis sat outside with his family, his 9-year-old son approached him carrying a thick stack of cash. The boy had been carefully saving money for a dirt bike by running his neighborhood business, helping neighbors take the trash cans to the curb and bringing them back after pickup. Instead of holding on to his savings, he wanted his dad to use the money to replace the tools lost in the fire. I was so touched, Pettis said through tears. He's like, "Here, Dad, you could have this to replace your tools." And I just, in that moment, I'd never felt so loved. I felt so much joy for my little man and what he was willing to give up. Pettis lovingly declined the offer, reassuring his son that insurance would help cover the loss. Still, the gesture meant more to him than any tool ever could. Reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions from that day, Pettis said, "Moments like these are what matter most." In the midst of the chaos and the crazy stories and the very real dramatic things that happen to us in life, there are those sweet souls that can instantly bring light and joy into your life. He's one of them, and that was a moment that we had. How sweet is that? Oh, such a generous kid. All right, well, here's another generous kid. 11-year-old becomes the first child to read 100 volunteer hours to shelter pets. Yes. An 11-year-old boy in Florida has proven that one simple act of kindness can make a lasting difference. After spending more than 2 years reading books to homeless shelter animals, Nehemiah Turner has become the first child in the history of the Jacksonville Humane Society's positive reading program to reach an incredible milestone of 100 volunteer hours. For Nehemiah, the time he spends at the shelter isn't just about reading, it's about bringing comfort to dogs that are waiting for a family to call their own. I hope that they get adopted, and I hope I achieved my goal too, Nehemiah told ABC News. The Jacksonville Humane Society's positive reading program invites children of all ages to read aloud to shelter animals. The program has a dual purpose by helping children strengthen their reading skills while also creating a calm, soothing environment for stressed animals. It feels soothing, it feels good, calm, comforted animals, not like a whole bunch of barking is happening, Nehemiah said. He began visiting the shelter with his grandmother more than 2 years ago and quickly formed a special connection with the animals. He still remembers the very first dog he ever read to. "I went up there with my book and I sat down with this dog named Augie," he recalled. "I started to read to him, and after we had to leave, I started to cry because I didn't want to leave the Humane Society." In June, Nehemiah officially became the first volunteer in the program's history to log 100 reading hours. To celebrate the achievement, the Jacksonville Humane Society presented him with a certificate recognizing his dedication. Lawrence Nicholas, CEO of the Jacksonville Humane Society, praised the young volunteers' remarkable commitment. 100 hours read here at the shelter is such an amazing accomplishment over 2 years. That's some serious dedication for a young person. Way to go, Nehemiah. That's awesome. And what a cutie, eh? All right. Well, here's something that surprised me. I've never seen flamingo leg covers before. Who says a prosthetic cover has to be boring? One creative crocheter has come up with a delightfully quirky way to add a little personality to life after amputation. A bright pink flamingo leg cover that transforms a prosthetic into what looks like a leg of everyone's favorite long-legged bird. The handmade creation slips over a prosthetic leg, complete with textured pink feathers and a skinny lower leg that ends in oversized flamingo feet. The result is an unexpectedly realistic and hilarious that it's guaranteed to turn heads and spark smiles. For many amputees, prosthetic covers are more than just decoration. They're a way to express individuality, show confidence, and sometimes even make difficult conversations a little easier. Instead of trying to hide a prosthetic, fun designs like this celebrate it. And let's be honest, if life gives you one leg, why not make it a flamingo? The whimsical cover has been shared widely online, where people praise both the craftsmanship and the humor behind it. While prosthetics can represent a challenging journey, moments of creativity like this remind us that laughter is still it still has an important place in healing. Yes, it does. Sometimes the smallest touch of humor can brighten not only the wearer's day, but everyone else's too. How sweet is that? Wow. Well, these strangers all got together to save these women after a car falls off of the overpass. When a car flew off an HOV overpass and crashed upside down onto a busy Houston freeway, complete strangers didn't wait for emergency crews to arrive. Instead, they jumped into action, working side by side to rescue three women trapped inside. The terrifying crash happened Wednesday evening when, according to Metro Police, the driver lost control while speeding, struck the HOV barrier, and careened off the Beltway 8 overpass before landing upside down on the Southwest Freeway. As traffic came to a halt, drivers abandoned their own vehicles and rushed toward the wreckage. Video from the scene shows a growing crowd of Good Samaritans surrounding the overturned car, trying to reach the women trapped inside. Some used sledgehammers, poles, and their bare hands to pry at the vehicle, while others focused on keeping everyone safe until firefighters arrived. Jack Johnson was among the strangers who stopped to help. I just seen the car just flat, rooftop down, smashed in. I saw a couple of gentlemen that were there. He said he never considered driving away. Something just told me just get out of the vehicle and go see what's going on, just to help. As he approached the wreckage, he could hear the women inside crying out. All I can just hear is the young girls in there just screaming, yelling, saying, get me out, help me, help me. And I thought about my own girls. Hearing their voices, despite the severity of the crash, gave him hope. That was a major relief. In fact, I didn't walk up to not hearing any voices at all. The rescue quickly became a coordinated effort among people who had never met. Everyone had their own little task. They had one standing on top of the car, and they said they smelled gas. They just pulled off fire extinguishers and everything just to make sure. Another witness, Richard Ponce, said the scene was chaotic as people worked desperately to free the women. It was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of people freaking out, like smashing hits because so many were hitting the car trying to get it open. Firefighters arrived a short time later, freed the three women, and transported them to the hospital in what many described as nothing short of a miracle. All three are expected to survive. Perhaps the most remarkable part of the story came after the rescue was over. The volunteers didn't stay to be recognized, according to Johnson. They simply exchanged handshakes and quietly went their separate ways. Johnson hopes he'll one day reconnect with the other rescuers and learn how the women are doing. How's that? Strangers stepping it up. All right. Well, here's another wild, fiery crash. Miraculously, all 11 souls walked away with their lives after a seaplane both crashed and caught fire in the Puget Sound. Operator Kenmore Air said in a statement that one of its planes, a de Havilland DHC-3 Otter, was en route out of Seattle with 10 passengers and a pilot when an accident saw the seaplane go down at 5:15 p.m. local time last Thursday. Going down on the water, the plane also caught fire and had already sunk in the frigid water by the time the U.S. Coast Guard first responders arrived on scene. Again, as if by a miracle, all 11 souls on board were rescued alive, some having sustained injuries like broken bones, lacerations, and head injuries. The pilot probably did a really good job to set it down gently enough to give everybody a chance. A lot of things went right to get everybody out of that plane. 3 air ambulances arrived to rush the injured, including one who was in critical condition, to safety. The cause of the incident is yet unknown. Recovery of the plane was undertaken in the days after the crash for a full investigation. Flight radar shows the seaplane making a 180-degree turn toward Sucia Island in the Puget Sound after passing it, perhaps seeking to make an emergency landing. Out of respect for those involved, we will not speculate regarding the cause of the accident. adding that the carrier is fully cooperating with the investigating authorities, and we will continue providing verified information as it becomes available. Eyewitnesses report the plane wobbling in the air not far from the surface of the water before impact. The fire ignited afterwards. All right, and our last story of the day today. This is a sweet little book, Love Looks Like Lola, a story celebrating many kinds of love. When Cody Daigle, Orion's editor, asked if he wanted to write a children's book about asexuality, he knew it would be a big challenge. Despite devoting the past 5 years to building an online community educating young people on the aromatic asexual spectrum, he wasn't sure how he'd explain the concept to small children. But he also knew it was important. Not only do many kids have loved ones in their lives who deserve to be understood, but kids themselves also deserve to see the many different ways to grow up and build a life for themselves. So Daigle Orions took on the task, and from these efforts came Love Looks Like Lola, a book he describes as deconstructing the social expectations for the kinds of relationships we should have and what love should look like. Out August 21st, Love Looks Like Lola follows Claire as she spends the weekend with her Aunt Lola. Claire struggles to understand why Lola doesn't have someone to love and kiss the way her parents do. Lola explains that she doesn't want that, but it doesn't mean she's lonely. Married is not something I want to be, Lola said. Eros means I love people without romance or kisses, and I'm perfectly happy without those things. Lola introduces Claire to the many people in her life who love her, making the book an ode to chosen family. Love doesn't need kisses or a wedding to be real, Lola says. Love looks like the people we care for and respect, who care for us and respect us in return. Daigle Orions told LGBTQ Nation that the book is meant to communicate a critical message. There are many ways to be happy. After all, kids often absorb from a young age that the quickest path to a successful, happy life is marriage and children. At the same time, he is careful not to denigrate that path, which is why Claire and Lola also celebrate Claire's parents' wedding anniversary. It made more sense to me to address the kind of things that kids at that age already understand, that their parents are married because they love each other, and married is what you do, and that means you have someone. At 5 or 6, we don't have to get into the intricacies of romance and definitely not sex, but we can talk about those expectations that are built into kids' lives from the very beginning. And that became the logical place to say where there are people who don't want that kind of life. He added that one thing he especially appreciates about the book is the way it celebrates queer community. I feel like the book is almost as much about what queer community looks like, that we can build these webs of different kinds of connections and relationships that form our world. Daigle Orions has his own social media-based mentorship community, Ace Dad Advice, for the past 5 years. He launched it after coming out as Ace at 41, hoping to help young people learn to understand and discover themselves earlier. Well, what a brilliant thing to do. Good job. We need more good information for people so we don't get lost in the mire of he said, she said, this is that, a whole bunch of stuff that means nothing or misunderstanding. Well, that's it for Now the Good News this Friday, July 31st. And please like, share, and subscribe, and join us again next week as we continue bringing more and more of these great stories. And also, if you feel called, please do like, share, and subscribe, and consider a donation to the New Thought Media Network, allowing for us to continue with this incredible programming every day of the year. So join us next time as we present more good news. Bye for now. I'll see you again.